Hi, everyone. My name is Sara. I'm a compulsive eater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day. This is the best part of the Zoom meeting, waiting. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the gray sheet. I write them down. I call them into my sponsor, and I eat what I say I'm going to eat. I don't eat in between meals, no matter what. It truly is the most important thing in my life, and every day becomes more and more important. And I've been doing this since May 24th, 2009. I'm really glad that I don't have to do any research or talking to you guys because I've been really, really sick. I'm at the far end, and I was thinking, oh God, I'm glad it's not academic. I'd have to go out and do all this research. But I did all my research most of my life, so I'm going to draw on that. And I was also reminded this week by a newcomer who said that sometimes when people are sharing, they make it sound like they know the answer to everything. Well, I haven't heard that, but I understand that newcomers can hear that. So I just want to underscore that I don't speak for GreySheeters Anonymous. I speak for Sara, and this is my experience having been in this program. And I love GreySheeters Anonymous, and I feel very, very grateful, very fortunate that it's been here all this time, even when I didn't want it. So with that, I look around this room and I know almost everybody, so I probably don't have to say too much about how I earned my seat here. But believe me, I earned my seat here. I've just always been a compulsive eater as long as I can remember. Never had a normal relationship with a bite of food. And along with that, I was a very, very lonely kid, very secretive. I thought there was something, for as long as memories come, I just thought there was something really, really wrong with me. I couldn't figure out what it was. I didn't have the bandwidth to figure out what it was. But I drew into myself while I yearned and yearned and yearned for people to love me and be part of, but I had no understanding or ability how one goes about being a part of or having relationships. And so it just got worse. And I was put on my first real diet when I was in college. My mother had finally noticed that I was miserable about my weight, and she took me to the doctor, and the doctor gave me what's called Preludin, and is now illegal because it was just sort of straight speed, and I loved it. And it made me a better student. I could stay up all night and write really good papers. And the first time around, I lost a lot of weight very quickly. But just like any drug, you need more, and then you need more, and then I would get so gnarly, and then I would just be a pain, horrible when I was coming off of it. And so that really was the beginning of sort of drug use, which at first was very spotty, but I had a 7-year love affair with drugs. I never put a needle in me because I was terrified of needles. So that may have saved my life, because I definitely was a follower. If I thought you were popular and you were doing something, I would do it because I wanted to be popular. So I've been really, really sick I live in Paris, and I've been really sick. And I don't know how to get, well, I do know how to get screened for this virus, but I would have to stand in a long queue. And until yesterday, midday, I didn't have the energy to sit up for more than about 10 minutes. So I think I have a bad cold, but it's been interesting. I'll just put that. It's been interesting. Anyway, I think what I just said was sort of the story of my life. Once I started dieting, I found lots of diets. I formulated what I wanted out of my life, which was I wanted to be thin and I wanted to be loved. And I followed that path, whatever I thought would give me one of those two things. And got myself into some dillies of relationships. I took more and more risks with the way I was dieting and trying to lose weight. And at one point when I was about, 1979, so I would have been 32, my sister wrote me, and she was getting her doctorate at Harvard, that she'd found this amazing Overeaters Anonymous program and thought I should go into it. And it turns out that she actually had gone into a Gray Sheet OA meeting, but she didn't know that there was a different kind of OA. So that when she was telling me I should go to OA, she really wanted me to go to what she was going to. And it was brand new in Cambridge at that point, fairly new. So I did go to OA and did a little dance with OA. I didn't understand it. And I went to visit her in 1983, and she took me to my first Gray Sheet meeting. And so if anybody does the math, I've been absent since May 2009. I went to my first Gray Sheet meeting in August of 1983. That's a long time. It's a really long time, especially if I'm the one living it. And I was writing just before this meeting because I've been sick, and I was just trying to ground myself to try and share with you. And I was thinking, what if I were to say two things that got in my way all those years? I would say that it was dishonesty and pride. I thought I was an honest person, but I only went up to a certain point. I never really pushed myself to be really honest because I was terrified of what I'd find out. And my pride said, I can do it. I might, if you reached out your hand, I might take hold of it, maybe one or two fingers. But if push came to shove, I'd grab my hand back and I'd do it my way. And I was oblivious to the fact that I did this. So I was one of those people who was feeling really sorry for myself. And I'd look at people in OA, I'd look at people in Gray Sheet and go, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get it? And I decided that I must have been behind a tree when God gave out favors or whatever. It just never occurred to me that it was something I was doing. Never occurred to me it was the food, even though I was in these food programs. For somebody who was a pretty smart girl, I was pretty dumb. And there were people who were abstinent. I mean, there were people probably who could have told me if I'd asked. And, that's still a mystery to me. Did I ask? I don't think so, because I don't remember hearing answers. But I did get abstinent for about 5 months, and I was in Cambridge, but I lived in California. And I started 2 meetings in California. This was the fall of 1983, and people from Cambridge would start moving out to California. But I binged after 5 months, and I just disappeared. I just disappeared, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand anything, and just before I beat myself up too much, my experience of Gray Sheet at that time was a little bit different. It was more of a 2-step program, 1 and 12, of which they did very good. But there wasn't a lot of, I think of today's GSA as being a gentler, kinder program where people, of course there are more people too, but I can't really explain why I say that. It's just my experience. But I disappeared, and then that was probably 1984. And from then on, I just did this sort of revolving door with OA, different kinds of diets, doing things on my own, telling myself I didn't need a diet. I just needed discipline. I mean, everything that all of you are familiar with. And in 2005, I ran into a friend who was one of my closest friends in OA. And it was in San Francisco, and neither of us lived in San Francisco. So to me, it was a God moment. And she told me that she was now doing GreySheeters. She had 3.5 years of abstinence. And from the time I ran into her, that God moment, I have weighed and measured every meal. And I have, and that was December 17th. From December 19th, I have called someone, but I had 4 day ones, which is why my date is May 24th, 2009. And what made the difference that day? I don't know. I'm not sure actually that day was the big turning point. For me, about 2 or 3 months later, I was making my dinner. I had, in California, I have an island that I do all my prepping, and I could see out the window and the Bay Area, the Golden Gate Bridge, etc. And I did something we're not supposed to do, and I poured over food, and I had an eighth of an ounce too much, and I just picked it up, and in my head, I'm sure I just said, this won't make any difference, it's no calories. But I jokingly now say that my higher power was just took pity on me, you know, that after 26 years just totally took pity on me. And for some reason I went around my island, I put that thing back in the sink, because people are dying of starvation in China, so you don't throw food out. So I put it there, and I started all over again. And that moment, I actually felt weight lift off my shoulders, and I understood what you guys meant by no matter what. I'd heard that expression over and over again. I'd heard we don't make independent food decisions over and over again. I'd heard a lot of these things. I'd never actually used them. I couldn't, because I wasn't following that. But that moment is crystallized in my brain as a moment where jigsaw puzzles fell into place. This is what I do. If I'm gonna stay abstinent, I mean, I wish I could say it was this clear, but I just knew this is what I have to do. And that feeling of lightness was just incredible. So I actually think that that was my turning point, that I did what I did up to the first challenge, and I passed the test, if you will. And since then, I've had many other tests. I had really an interesting experience when I started getting sick on Tuesday morning. I was eating my breakfast and I couldn't finish it. I couldn't finish my breakfast, and I had to call someone, and I didn't want to make the phone call. I sat on the chair I'm sitting on now. I mean, it took me 15 minutes to pick up the phone and make the stupid phone call, to just say, I'm really sick, I can't finish my food. And I'm someone who never changes my food because I hate making those phone calls so much. But it was only when I thought, Sarah, are you going to throw away 11.5 years of abstinence because you're sick and you don't want to make a phone call? That was pretty clear. And I have those moments where I know what to do, I don't want to do it, and they remind me that my disease is live and well, and will just, if I give it a crack in the door, it will just come in. And we're not even talking about the steps or spirituality or anything. This is just the disease of food addiction. It is just gonna try everything to get in there. It doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't matter how long we're abstinent. And so when I was writing and said honesty or dishonesty and pride, that's a moment of pride. In the past, I wouldn't have made that phone call back in those 26 years. I would have somehow rationalized why it was okay that I don't finish the food, but I didn't need to make a phone call, as if I were someone special.
1
Not
minute.
like you. 1 minute or 4 minutes?
Oh, sorry, 1 minute.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. So, well, in 1 minute, I will just say once more that I love GreySheeters Anonymous. It took me many years to say that. I work very hard to enjoy my food. I work hard at service. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous tells us that we do service no matter what, no matter how inconvenient it is. Yeah, go to the ends of the earth, and that I haven't had to do that, thank goodness. But I have sat on the board, and I'm chair of the literature committee, and we're writing this wonderful book called Living Abstinent, which 6 of us, which has just caused us to have some incredible discussions about this program and about what abstinence means and what other things mean. And it's like Christmas having these discussions, you know, and just being, it's like those workshops that Grania started way back when on the traditions and the concepts, being given the opportunity to really uncover, what does this mean? How does it apply to me? How can I use it? That to me feels like Christmas, a real gift to with like-minded people to say, how can I improve myself? How can I be a better citizen on this earth? How can I keep liking myself one day at a time? Because the truth is, except for when I'm sick, I really like myself today, and I never thought I could say that. And I, for the most part, like all of you also. And I feel really grateful that I have you guys in my corner when I'm in trouble and actually have the willingness to pick up that phone. So I just want to make a joke that I'm sure has been made many times before, but Heaven was on, is she still on? Has been writing on GreyNet, and she's on here, and I just so excited because I've always wanted to know what heaven looked like. So with that, I'm going to stop and say thank you very much for letting me share what it's like to be 11 and a half years abstinent in this wonderful program of GreySheeters Anonymous.